So I know a lot of people are going to be going out there in the comments and wondering what ever happened to me yesterday. I did say that my Sunday would be kind of busy. I had myself another date, and yeah, it was really good. And okay, I'm gonna take up some time at the beginning of this video to kind of go over on a tangent, because this is a Canucks-related video, meaning that the majority of people watching this are going to be fans that have been fans of the channel for a long time. Therefore, I feel like you're a little bit more invested into me than maybe fans of other teams that I don't really cover all too much, and plus there's a lot of history here. And besides, we had a lot of people in the comments of the Kraftstop video last week saying that anything with my dating life was more important than the Canucks, but man, everything went so well yesterday that it's difficult to try to snap back to reality and get back to everyday working life, but oh well, I guess that's dating for you, isn't it? All I could do is sit here and hope that she feels the same way, but yeah. But aside from that, there are some things that we can talk about when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. And in order to help us out, we're going to be going over to Patrick Johnson's article on The Province. Take a look at this piece from yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, excuse me. Canucks, the trade deadline is over, but Miller and the Besser trade chatter will go on. Can the Canucks afford both Miller and Brock moving forward? This article goes over a whole bunch of stuff. It talks about a bunch of players, it talks about the trade possibilities, it talks about the Millers and the Bessers and everybody in between. I will leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this yourself, but what I wanted to focus on more so in this video was not Miller and Brock. We've beaten the Miller and Brock drum so hard over the past few weeks that it feels a little bit old just going over them once more, so instead, what I wanted to do was talk about some of the guys towards the end of the piece that are not middle to top six forwards that the Pittsburgh Penguins might have been interested in. Let's talk about the two anchor defenseman contracts the team has, Tyler Myers, and whether or not the Canucks should trade him away, as well as Oliver Ekman-Larsson and the very dreaded B word. No, we're not talking about the one that rhymes with which, we're talking about buyouts. Take a look at what Patrick Johnson writes about these two. You want to start out with OEL? Yeah, let's go over and do that. So, Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contract is massive at $10.5 million and an AAV of $8.25 million this season, with the Coyotes retaining $990,000 of that. And there are still 4 years to go for the 31-year-old. Patrick Allvin indicated on Friday that a buyout is not the way he would like to go, that he believes it won't be necessary. But if all else fails, PJ writes, it may be an unavoidable necessity. Buying out OEL's deal would cost the Canucks $19.3 million and keep a cap hit on the books for the next 8 years. Next season, the cap hit would be negligible, then rise to over $2 million for the 24-25 season, rise again to nearly $5 million for the 25-26 seasons, and then back to just over $2 million for the next 4 years. Now, the math is kind of wild if you go over and look at it right there, but Cap Friendly's buyout calculator helps us out here. You can see that if OEL gets bought out right now, he's got $29 million remaining, 4 years remaining. So if you get the buyout, it means that the dollar amount owed to him is cut to 2/3, and the remaining time is spread out times 2. So what is $29 million over 4 years becomes 29 multiplied by 2 over 3, which is, what is that? $19.3 million over the span of 8 years, and the cap hit would be pretty bad. You can see the cap hits on Cap Friendly if OEL gets bought out: $150,000 for 23-24, $2.3 million in 24-25, and then it becomes almost $5 million for 2 seasons. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. 2 years worth of a 4.7 AAV cap hit for a guy who got bought out? And we'd have to be paying this, I say we as if I'm a part of the team. I'm not a part of the team. I'm not Emily Castonguay making the money and the contracts work, but the Canucks would have to be paying OEL till 2031 if they ended up buying him out. And that's kind of why it's sort of like, all right, yeah, Allvin going out there thinking about OEL and not wanting to buy this guy out. Yeah, I can understand why you don't want to do that. It's just, this team and their salary cap structure has been so hampered with all the other guys that they're keeping around that you kind of have to think about trading away a Miller or a Besser, and you kind of have to hope that you get it done soon. OEL in that contract, oh man, it's such a behemoth on this team's salary cap structure that it's very difficult to try to, just really nail down where that's going to go over the next few years. I've been seeing some people over the past few days on Twitter saying things like, oh, what if OEL, becomes good again? What if he finds his groove again? And it's like, bro, you kind of have to think about it. Realistically, is that going to happen? The guy was good, 5-7 years ago. He was in my fantasy team back in grade 9 or whatever it was, and he was really good back then. He's not so great anymore. Sure, if he was as good as he was back then today, then we'd be looking at a different team. He'd probably be getting a lot more points, although at the same time, you could say that that's not really something that would help the team out properly because they're still bad at defending, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson was never really noted for his defensive abilities. But for a guy who is, let's go over to the other name here, Tyler Myers. There's a piece written about him in this article. Is there a way to find a new home for Tyler Myers? As has been noted more than once, he is due a $5 million bonus this summer. Once paid, he is due just $1 million in salary. Regardless, his cap hit remains at $6 million through next season. Even though Myers, who is 33, has struggled mightily this year, there are a few teams around the NHL interested in a player whose real cash cost is low but whose cap hit is high. The question is, are any of those teams in on Myers' 10-team no-trade list, and could Myers be convinced to go to one of those teams nonetheless? Myers has 1 goal and 9 assists in 58 games played this season. Now, Myers is a lot easier to move, a lot easier to get rid of because the contract isn't as bad, nor is it as big as OEL's. However, there are some teams out there that might take a look at the situation and be attracted to that, because if you're not really needing to pay a guy a whole bunch of salary over the course of the year, that helps out your owners, that helps out the guys up top. But if the cap hit is high, it also allows you to reach the cap floor while not really having to do much in the process. I'm thinking about Arizona and the contracts that they've acquired over the past few years. You talk about Pavel Datsyuk, Marian Hossa, Chris Pronger, Shea Weber, and now, Patrick Kane. That's all on the books in Arizona. That feels sort of like a situation where I could see, if Tyler Myers is, for some reason, able to go there, that would be a pretty good scenario for both sides involved. It's just, to me, it's so interesting being able to talk about Tyler Myers because he's quote-unquote 1 year removed from that contract expiring because, man, I know I've been making these videos for a while, but I remember when Tyler Myers signed that deal. And it was the biggest thing in the world because Jim Benning had given out another 6x6 to a guy. Everybody was like, oh, we all know how the last 6x6 ended up going. Look at Louis Eriksson and how well he's performing for the Canucks. But then it was another 6x6. Now it's 5 years since then, and we're still having the same problems. The team made the playoffs once. They went to the second round after winning a play-in series, so they won 2 rounds, and now they're back where they started, out of the playoffs, 7th last in the league or whatever it is. They won a game against Toronto. Now they're playing against Nashville, so we'll see what happens then. But Myers is still here, and we're still talking about him not being amazing, and whether or not he could actually get traded since he's got 1 year left on that deal. It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? I don't know. This video opening up with the intro and talking about this Tyler Myers stuff, it's kind of giving me an opportunity to introspectively analyze everything that's been going on in my life the past few years. But yeah, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, so whether or not the Canucks could trade Tyler Myers or buy out OEL. Link in the description to PJ's article. Since he does a good job at talking about these guys, as well as Miller and Besser, we've made so many videos about JT and Brock, so I did not want to bombard your subscription feed with one of these videos again. But Canucks do play Nashville later today. We'll see what happens when that goes down. Either way, though, the comment section is your floor. Do you actually see Tyler Myers being able to get moved? I mean, the guy does have a 10-team no-trade list, which means that there are, 21. Can you do something for me? I'm going insane. There are 21 other teams in the NHL that Myers is allowed to get traded to. Are any of these teams interested potentially in a $1 million base salary guy, but a player who's got $6 million as a cap hit? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.